to talk to you a little bit today about this Vyrus motorcycle that we have here in the showroom at the moment. Very fortunate here at Moto to deal with bikes like Vyrus, and it's really interesting to take a look at some of the differences sometimes between the bikes that come through to us. Obviously with the Vyrus, it's fairly obvious we've got a very different front end here to most conventional motorcycles. This is known as hub centre steering, and in many ways it works like a conventional telescopic fork, but there are visually some differences. Now, first of all, one of the most important things is to understand how the steering works and how it turns on its own axis here in the centre of the wheel. And lots of people often ask me what these red bars are for, and this controls the geometry of the front end. And so you can see this bar here, and this red bar sort of controls the angle of that. And that's the equivalent of controlling the fork rake angle as on a conventional motorcycle. So if you make this steeper, the bike will turn faster and become less stable. And if you make it more relaxed, then obviously the bike will turn into a corner slower and be more stable at speed. And so it actually works in a very similar way to normal forks. But the big difference, and what this is all about really, is stopping the bike diving when you brake. And so on a conventional telescopic fork, you hit the brakes and the forks compress, and if you hit them really hard and your fork's quite soft, you can actually bottom the fork out and run out of suspension. And at this point the wheel will start to skid. With this type of front suspension, you can brake much later theoretically, because the suspension will never bottom out because it doesn't compress when you brake. Now, I've been fortunate enough to ride a few of these bikes, and what's really interesting is when you get on the bike, you imagine that it's going to feel really strange, but remarkably the bike feels incredibly normal. And when you get back onto a conventional bike, you then realise the difference is when you grab the front brakes and the front sort of disappears away underneath you. And it's really interesting to see that your brain tells you that this machine is going to feel strange, the steering is going to feel strange, it's going to be weird, what's it going to be like? And the reality is that it just feels like a normal motorcycle. In fact, it feels like a bike should feel. And then when you get back onto a normal bike, you actually understand that it's wrong. And that's quite a bizarre feeling, and takes a little bit of sort of head scratching for a moment, because you want this to be different and it's not. But you know, this particular bike is a 986 Vyrus. This uses the Honda CBR 600RR engine, which of course they used in Moto 2. This bike was initially designed as a Moto 2 machine, but never really got ran in World Championships, which is a real shame. But it does mean that these days you can buy one as a road bike, and it certainly does make a very interesting machine to pull up at your local bike night on.